Guys, what's up? My name's Jimmy Longo. I'm the overdose prevention coordinator here at Community Health Action, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the reality of an instant gratifying world. So let's get into it. We're going to first start by defining instant gratification. Gratification is the pleasurable emotion reaction of happiness in response to fulfillment or a desired goal. So it's pretty much a goal being met that you could possibly want to achieve. Instant is happening or coming immediately, so it's happening now. Substance use and instant gratification do play into each other. So the first thing we're going to talk about is substance users know where their habit leads, and yet they can't say I've had enough, or even walk away from a tempting situation they know will end badly. But the reason is not out of disrespect to their loved ones or peers. The reason is almost like a mental imbalance. There's two main reasons why people use. They're either undiagnosed or misdiagnosed mental illness, or they're trying to suppress some type of traumatic emotional event in their life that they can't cope with. So there are two parts of your brain that should be working simultaneously, and that's the conscious and unconscious. So the deliberate and automatic, and the self-control and the impulsive. You need both of them to actually function. And I'll give you two examples of functioning versions of this. So the first example is driving to the grocery store, and rather than stopping for a fast food joint, you driving to the grocery store is a self-controlled action that would be in the end most cost efficient and possibly better for your health. But the impulsive nature of this would be to avoid a car accident when someone swerves in your lane. That's impulsive, that's immediate, and it needs to happen in order to get you to safety in those moments. So it also identifies another point, which is that the impulsive part of your brain is relatively effortless, while the control part requires you to put some work into it in order to work, the way it should. Process brain. So we were just talking about before the two parts that should be working together. So the two parts of your brain that should work together to help you assess short-term and long-term goals. There should be both of them present at all times, but when it comes to substance users, it's like one part of that is driving the car and overwhelming the other part that's not allowing them to actually process the long-term effects and more or less the short-term gains. This is why terrible hangovers and hospital stays are not simply enough to make a user want to up and quit or stop using. Like, when the drug provides such an immediate gain, the long-term effects of that drug are not processed in our brains. Moreover, your impulsiveness becomes compulsiveness. So when we start to get triggered by various situations, which most people in recovery know as people, places, and things, what causes a substance user to seek out their substance of choice is the fact that they are starting to experience a compulsion. So various triggers, it could be like a conversation topic, it could be an event, it could be a smell, it could be a TV show, anything that reminds the substance user of that drug can cause them to pursue it. And substance users in early recovery know this better than anybody. Just because they're not using the drug doesn't mean that that they're in control. So there's a sense of, in some cases, called white knuckling it. There's a sense of dry drunk, meaning that just because they're not using the drug or that they're not picking it up doesn't mean that they've changed the behaviors of what they used to do while they were picking it up or still using it. So if you don't change those behaviors, you're simply just awaiting your next relapse, and you're trying to kind of tough it out until then. But the most important part to recovering from this type of from substance use is to do the rewiring of your brain, the patternizing. You have to pretty much remap everything in your brain and change the ways of how you react to situations and why you pursue things the way you do. Problematic surroundings outside of substance use, like other things that can contribute or are the same as. Things that also provide instant gratifications, just like substances do, are the following, but aren't limited to it, which is gambling, sex, cell phone, social media, shopping, food, working out, etc. There has to be a sense of moderation with everything you do. you could potentially do something that's healthy for you and do it to an extent where it becomes unhealthy. So what I tell my clients is I don't tell them that they should stop doing drugs or stop using drugs. Stop drinking and stop using drugs. I don't encourage them to either. It's only when it becomes unbalanced that it becomes harmful. Anything you do in moderation potentially doesn't really become harmful to you or put your life at risk. So working out is very important to most people and to our well-being. It's something that is obviously has the potential to be nothing but good to us. But if you overdo working out, it can become extremely harmful, and it could become an issue inside your everyday life. So anything done in moderation shouldn't actually pose any threat to your life or your everyday, how you live every day. So with the world at our fingertips, it's hard to learn patience when everything's an instantaneous fix. You know, we become ill nowadays. There's a search engine that has all of our possible diagnosis. The art of makeup is now learned on a YouTube tutorial. Instead of going to the store to buy essential items, it's ordered with a click of a button, and it's dropped off that day or the day after. We have this luxury of having the world at our fingertips and getting it when we want it. So that is unfortunately also playing into this issue. All of these things, which is like pretty much having all these things at our fingertips, can lead to a society that is saturated with addictive personalities. Every new thing becomes an addiction and an obsession. Every digital screen has the potential to create addiction. So humans have an addiction to their phone as they rely on it as a continuous source of entertainment. So whether or not you're really understanding it, so I've done presentations inside like high schools, and during these presentations I would purposely leave my cell phone in my hand, and every so often throughout it I would look at the screen and then put it back, just face it downwards and have it in my hand and almost use it as a prop. And at the end of the presentation, I asked the kids, I was like, did anyone see anything wrong with the fact that I held my cell phone the whole time? And they said, no, we just thought you were expecting a call, or you were just checking the time, whatever the case may be. I was like, okay, now if I were to take the cell phone and replace it with a bottle of alcohol, how would you feel then? Then all of a sudden it became an issue, because we assume that just substances is the only thing that you could get addicted to, or that can be seen as a problem. But it's not true. If you are in a room and you're not giving your time and energy to the people in that room, and instead you're actually giving it to a device, even if you're not giving it to anybody else through a device, if you're giving it to a device through social media, through even keeping up with the news, you're not people in those scenarios. If I go into my boss's office and she has a cell phone on her desk and she's still talking to me, even if that cell phone doesn't go off, I don't feel nearly as important as whoever may contact her at any time. It doesn't matter if she puts it upside down. It doesn't matter what the case may be. As long as that's on there, I feel like my time and what I have to say is not nearly as important as what's going on in her life. And that's not really an environment to open up to somebody in. You want to provide environments where people feel comfortable, where they feel like what you have to say is important, and you feel like they're listening and giving you their time and energy in order to help you solve your issues. And we don't really get that nowadays, because even conference rooms has cell phones in it. People go as far as to look at who's calling them and be like, I'm not going to answer it. Oh, well, thank you for doing me the honor of picking me over them. How often do you do that? There's like a sense of sarcasm in there, but if you truly want to help people, you have to take away the distractions around you, and in order to do that, maybe put your cell phone away, put it inside of a desk drawer, anything along the lines of that, so you should be able to do both and not have to do them simultaneously. They should be, whatever the case may be. Gratification theory in psychology. At the heart of instant gratification is one of the most basic drives inherent to humans, which is our tendency to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This tendency is better known as the pleasure principle. So the pleasure principle was something that was actually first coined by Sigmund Freud. It's clear that humans are, at least to some extent, driven by the desire to experience pleasure. So you can even argue that self-defeating behavior that seems to bring no immediate benefit to somebody is in line with the pleasure principle. For example, A person who frequently fights with their partner or their spouse may seem to be getting no benefit from their action, but perhaps the apology or the makeup period after this fight has passed outweighs the short-term discomfort of that argument. However you slice it, the lure of short-term pleasure is a tough temptation. It's very hard to turn down the temptation of being pleasured in moments and in short periods of time. I'll show you this slide because the first time I did, YouTube blocked my content. So if you do get a chance, up top is exactly the title you would put into the search bar on YouTube. You should definitely check this out. It definitely goes in line with a lot of different things, and it will help you understand from a different point of view. So we're gonna go over the pleasure principle real quick and the 10 main reasons of what can cause delayed gratification to be less desirable than instant gratification. First one is going to be a desire to avoid delay. It's uncomfortable to engage in self-denial, and all of our instincts are to seize any opportunity for pleasure as it comes. So it's, kind of genetics or even biologically how humans are made. 2 is going to be uncertainty. So generally, we're born with nearly infinite certainties and trust in others. But over time, we learn to be less sure of the reliability of others and our future, and this uncertainty can cause us to value the less beneficial but certain and immediate over the more beneficial and uncertain and long term. 3 is age, which, as you probably already put together, younger people have a tendency to be more impulsive, while older people with more life experience are better able to delay and temper their urges. 4 is going to be imagination. Choosing delayed gratification requires the ability to envision your desired goal and forego your current desires. So if you can't paint a vivid enough picture of your future, you have little motivation to plan for it. Cognitive capacity is the last one on this side. There's 5 more on the other side, but higher intelligence is linked to more forward-thinking perspectives. Those who are born with a more innate intelligence have a tendency to see the benefits of delayed gratification and act in accordance. Don't mind the numbering on the other side. I apparently forgot how to count, but it'll straighten itself out. So the next one's poverty. Poverty can cause this as well, because even if we see the wisdom in delayed gratification, poverty can make the decision complicated and even more difficult if you have an immediate basic need that is begging to be met. So if you need food or shelter, something that is needed for your survival or for you to live, it's unlikely that you will choose to forego that need in order to receive any future benefits of delayed gratification. 7 is impulsiveness. And straightforward, some of us are just happen to be more impulsive and spontaneous than others. And in those people, it makes delayed gratification that much more difficult. And this trait is usually associated with problems like substance use and obesity. Emotion regulation is the next one, and that's individual differences in emotion regulation also impact our tendency towards instant and delayed gratification. Emotional distress makes us lean towards choices that will immediately improve our mood, and those who have developed emotional regulation problems are especially at risk. 9 is going to be mood, and even those with a healthy emotion regulation, they can be led astray by their current mood. We all have experienced bad moods, boredom, impatience. All of these serve to make immediate desires that much more seductive when they are brought upon us. Last but not least is anticipation. So finally, the experience of anticipation can influence our decisions to delay gratification or seek it immediately in either direction. Humans generally like to anticipate positive things and dislike to anticipate negative things, which can lead to decisions being put off or to engage in them as quickly as possible to seek out pleasure and avoid discomfort. 5 examples of instant gratification that we see like more often than not. The urge to indulge in a high-calorie treat instead of a snack that will contribute to good health. A good example of this is fast food. How many times have you had dinner planned or maybe even took food out of the fridge before work or school to have it home defrosting. Class or work ran over the time that you thought you would be out, or it was busier than normal, and now you're exhausted on top of it. You are now on your way home from work or school, and you are famished. Are you aware of how many fast food places you will pass by on your way home? Because I've calculated mine. For my job site to my apartment, which is geographically from Port Richmond Avenue to behind the mall, there was 67 fast food places. This number was accumulated by all different kinds of fast foods, from McDonald's to diners to etc. This alone was enough temptation for me and for anybody else to stop and get an immediate gratification from it. Now add traffic, an accident, an emotional disturbance of any sort. You've now doubled your desire for that instant gratification. 2 is the desire to hit snooze instead of getting up early to exercise. I'm probably more guilty of this than anybody I know. But I think it's safe to say we're all guilty of this. It feels good to sleep when you're tired. When that alarm goes off, it feels like you could have slept two more hours easily without there even being a question. We know being late to work has consequences, yet we choose to hit the snooze button and get the instant gratification in those scenarios often. Not always, but often. The temptation to go out for drinks with your friends instead of finishing a paper or studying for an exam. It's no secret that celebrating is way more fun than studying. Again, short-term gain for a negative long-term consequence. Another one is to desire to buy a new car that will have a high-interest loan instead of maybe saving enough money and getting a car without a loan. So these are all kind of examples that you could see where it could possibly be a short-term gain for a long-term negative consequence, rather than thinking long-term and avoiding that becoming a subject of instant gratification. Video I usually show. You should really look this up. This guy is extremely intelligent, and he does it in a fun way that you'll probably find humorous. But this is a great video to definitely watch through and through, and it hits home with me more than anybody because I am a procrastinator. But it's about it kind of plays into exactly what we're talking about here now. But you should definitely check it out. If you put that title into YouTube, you will find the video. It's the first one that comes up. Innocent bystanders of instant gratification. So, instant gratification and its effects on relationships. Let's see, because now a lot of the times relationships take a toll because of instant gratification. Almost 50% of all marriages in the U.S. will end up in divorce or separation. That's half. Literally half of the marriages in the U.S. will end up with people being separated or divorced. What we've seen and what we've estimated is that 41% of all first marriages end in divorce, 60% of all second marriages, and 73% of all third marriages are going to end in divorce. This has the U.S. being 6th highest divorce rate in the entire world. Talk about one other one. So, it's instant gratification's effects on society. The biggest contributor to this increase in difficulty is modern technology and social media. When you have essentially the world at your fingertips, it is extremely challenging to consciously choose delayed gratification over instant. In an age where Amazon has accustomed us to one-day delivery and Netflix and Hulu have gotten us hooked on instant streaming, it seems unthinkable to wait, to be honest. The relationship between instant gratification and technology is a two-way street. So the more we are offered instant gratification, the more through technology, the more we can come to expect it, and the more habituated we become to getting what we want right now. The more pressure there is on companies to actually fulfill this urge as well. So how do big corporations feed us instant gratification? This is just a very short list, but DVRs eliminate the need to wait through commercials. Disney parks offer fast passes for a little bit of a higher fee. Walmart and eBay are offering progressively fast shipping to compete with Amazon. Internet providers are constantly upgrading their speeds of connection compared to other providers. So, how many people thought that 4G was great? You know, now we have 5G. Like, everyone always continuously competing to make sure that you get what you want the second you think you want it. And that's not necessarily great to for us as human beings and to our everyday lives sometimes. I find this to be the biggest influencer on instant gratification, which is social media. Perhaps the biggest influence on our gratification habits come from social media. Not only can we find out in an instant what our friends are up to or share pictures we just snapped a moment ago, we can meet new people in seconds as well. Dating apps like Tinder, Grindr, Bumble, OkCupid offer the opportunity to connect with literally millions of people within seconds and to filter them out by dozens of specifications with the delay of only a minute or two. While there are certainly positive outcomes from a new constantly connected world, there are definitely negative ones too, and I think that we don't look at the negative ones nearly as much as we need to. It's not a stretch to say that people are simply less patient than they used to be. Researchers from Amherst found a video streaming quality that has a shocking impact on viewer behavior. So this to me was astounding, but I'm going to show it to you. They saw that if a video took more than 2 seconds to load, viewers would start melting away. They also saw that each additional second of load time caused 5.8 people to give up and move on to something else. Now, we're talking literally 3 to 5 seconds worth of someone's time when they went to go seek out, to the extent that they did to look up this video. If it takes more than 2 seconds to load, they lose interest in it immediately. To me, that is astounding when you think about it, because the delay of only 2 seconds is enough to make many of us give up on discovering something new, learning something we may need to know, or even being entertained in those moments. But that's how short our attention span has become. We'll conclude everything that we talked about today. There is no denying that we are in the midst of the worst drug epidemic in U.S. history. We have all the resources in place to help those with the disease, to recover from the disease, and to prevent someone from being a victim of it. So, which in my opinion is amazing. But if we only attack the problem and don't address what's causing the problem or feeding the problem, then the problem will continue to reoccur no matter how many times we defeat it. We should be addressing not just the problem, but the cause of the problem. We don't have the power to change age limit restrictions to technology or how instant gratifying the world is growing, but we do have the power to practice it in our own lives and teach those who are closest to us. I know that's easier said than done, but if we start implementing these now, they may be healthier for us in our future. Instant gratification is not bad, but it needs to be moderated. So it's not, like I said before, anything not done in moderation is going to cause negative outcomes. If you do it in moderation, it's never going to cause that type of harmfulness to anybody individually. Delayed gratification has beneficial factors that instant gratification will never have. So I usually go over these two, the second to last one that I just said, which is that, let me get back. I can't, never mind. So delayed gratification has beneficial factors that instant gratification will never have. So there's things such as love and career that will never be instant gratifying. There's no app for your job career that you choose and love in your life. The reward doesn't come at the beginning of the hard work. The reward comes at the end of it. And I think that that's why people have a hard time staying in careers or staying in relationships, is because they're waiting to get to the top of the mountain within these things instantly. And that's not how it works. Your reward will come after you do the work, not before. Now, nothing is ever hopeless. We can reverse behaviors regardless of how advanced our world gets, or the advances that our world is making around us. We just need to stop catering pleasure senses, and we need to start taking care of ourselves. That's kind of what it comes down to. Don't allow your need to want to be pleasured or to feel pleasure to cloud your judgment of what is most beneficial for you in any decision-making moment. Other than that, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.